Sarah and her husband Josh are excited to move into the Blackwood house. The Blackwood house is in a very high-end neighborhood, but it was on the market at a significantly reduced price because a murder had occurred in that house. Now, the house had laid empty for years, and then it came on the market, significantly reduced because of the history. And as a matter of fact, when they went there, there was bloodstains still on the floor where one of the murders occurred. So that's to tell you how neglected the place is. But they figured they would come in and clean it up. They're getting a discount, and they would build some equity and be able to sell the house. The homes around that area are huge in that community, and they feel like they could easily double their money. So there's a home recently sold that was 1.2, one of their neighbors' houses. So, they could easily, if they can turn things around, have a great investment. Now, Sarah is an influencer. She's a best-selling author, and she kind of stumbled into this writer thing after she wrote for a small magazine. It was like a starter magazine, and that audience grew. And she wrote an article about wellness and mental health or something to that effect. And so because people were so, I guess people just took to it, and it had good feedback, and everybody was, sharing, and it just took off. So that article she kind of built out into a self-help book, and that made the bestseller list. So, from that, she had a large Instagram following. People know who she was. And so now it's time for her to write a follow-up book. So she figures, with the accolades that she has, I guess she needs the house to go with it. So they moved to this house, and her husband's name is Joe. Her name is Sarah Slade. Now, we get the sense that, although we didn't know right away exactly what happened, that they are kind of on the run. Not that they are in trouble with the police, but they had to leave where they used to live because of some scandal that happened. Now, the marriage isn't good. Although at the point that the book starts, Sarah tries to give an outward appearance that everything is okay in the marriage, but it is not. They don't even sleep in the same room and all that. So there's something going on that kind of tore them apart. And so there's a lot of tension between her and her husband. But, social media can be a hell of a thing because she's hell-bent on keeping her following and keeping this appearance that she has online. So she figures that getting this house, she would have a brand new audience. She would showcase the house, the progress of the renovations and all that. She could flip that into sponsorships and all that. Now, the house has a history because there was a husband and wife who lived there previously. The husband, killed the wife and was going to kill the daughter, who was very young, but she was able to escape. And they never heard from her again after, somebody took her in, the police came, and, maybe she had gotten a new identity or something. But even when the parents died, and when she was able to inherit the house, she never came back. So the guy, when, towards the end, he was hearing things in the attic, and they felt like, the neighbors kind of were on his side or kind of empathetic towards what had happened because they felt like the house drove him crazy or something to that effect. So it seems as though the house is haunted in a sense, and especially with the name of the book, The Stranger Upstairs, there's something in the attic. So, everything is creaky. It's an old house. So, sometimes it's kind of scary when she hears things happening. At one point, the door slammed and there was no wind. So little things. They had this creepy wallpaper in the bedroom that had blackbirds, and she felt like something was watching her. So she kind of developed some kind of paranoia. Now, as she's talking to the neighbors, trying to, find out more about what happened or what's going on, um, she found out that there was a lady who had bought the house before her, but she never heard of this, and nobody knew where this lady was. So she wanted to find out some information, about the history of the house and all that. And I'm guessing some of it probably to parlay on her Instagram. And so she decided she needed to find out what happened to this lady. Her name was Amanda, but nobody talked about her. She couldn't find any records of her owning the house. So she found somebody who knew her online, and she got a little bit of information on her. And she found out that there was somebody in the neighborhood who wanted to get rid of the Blackwood house. Is that what it's called? Blackwood house? Okay, I hope I said that right. And, it seemed as though maybe there was a person who might have had reason to want to get rid of her because the house was driving down values in the neighborhood. And this person wanted to sell his house, but because of that house, really nobody wanted his either because they were so close in proximity. So we go into the dynamics in the neighborhood, the history of what happened with the prior owners, and also this lady during the short time that she was there. Now, Sarah began to feel like somebody's trying to drive her out the house. She's hearing things. There's notes being left for her, and she was kind of paranoid. She felt like somebody was watching her. And so she's like, I'm not going to let these people, drive me out my house. Meanwhile, her husband is there less and less and less. And, she feels like maybe he's having an affair and he's gone. So most of this she's struggling with by herself. Now when she wrote this book, she went on to blab that she had some BA in psychology, which she didn't. So as how typical internet folks are, eventually there's digging and people were finding out that she didn't really have that. So her life started unraveling because of the issues that she was having with the house. She kind of was losing it, and she wasn't focused. She was losing her clients because she was working when she moved from where she used to live before. This place that she's at now, she parlayed whatever success she had into her being a therapist. So she had a bogus degree. She, wherever she lived before, she had changed her name to this Sarah Slade that people know her as. And so her work performance was not up to par. So, it seems like she was going crazy, almost as if maybe something in the house is driving her crazy, because initially she seems like very normal. And then now she's just erratic. Weird things are happening, and so who knows? Which is it? Is she crazy or is it the house? So there's a lady at her job who's really empathetic towards her and checks on her and try to get her to talk things through. And we learned that she had a troubled past. Her sister Sarah had died. And so now she's using the name Sarah. And Sarah wanted to be a therapist, so this is what she's doing. So we find out that she has an obsessive personality. And we later learn in the book how she kind of take on other people's personality in a sense. She becomes obsessed. If it's something that she wants to do, she becomes obsessive about it. If it's somebody she wants to be her friend, or if it's some kind of condition she has. Like, for example, this boy that she wanted to talk to, she kind of mirrored him almost in like a narcissistic type of way. She observed, learned things about him, and then kind of mirrored that back to him. And so she eventually got that guy. And another thing that happened was when she was in high school, there's this popular girl and she would talk a certain way, and she mirrored that completely. And one time the girl was like, "Why are you copying me?" And she said she wasn't. And as a matter of fact, that day when she got confronted by the girl about copying her, she was going to change her hair color to that girl's hair color. So she completely, almost like a shapeshifter in a sense, she's just becoming that person. And so although she's normal today, or at the start of the book, when we're learning this stuff about her, you sense that she's not quite right. She also, when she was younger, she had some condition where she could see what she was seeing anyway, like her limbs weren't there. Some period of time where that happens and then it'll come back, but she would look and she would believe that her limbs are missing. And so she had some issues with that. But other than that, she seemed normal. So towards the end of the book, though, her husband had taken off and she was there in the house. And she's believing that somebody's coming. There's little things that she's heard, so she's really paranoid. She's up in the attic and she sees her sister. We know her sister is dead, so she's really going crazy. The friend who had come over to check on her, earlier, a few hours prior to that, and she knew she wasn't okay, but she resisted going to the hospital. So later, the friend called back to check on her. No answer, so she decided to come over. Her friend is Emily, a work colleague, not really friend per se. So the friend came in, she broke the window because no answer. She felt like she might be in danger because she noticed something in the attic from earlier. And she's like, oh my gosh, I got to warn her, get out, get out, get out. Of course, when she got back, she found Sarah in a frenzy, completely opposite to how she was before. And trying to talk sense into her was not working. So the attic experience didn't work out so well for her. And so in the end of the book, we find out that she took off. She did some bad things in the attic and she took off. And once again, she's taken on another personality where she is. So although we're believing that the house is haunted, it turned out that it was something else that was causing people to go crazy in the house. And so towards the end of the book, we found out what that was. So this book was a really hot mess, a big hot mess, a bunch of craziness, but I did enjoy it. But tell me what you think. If you have read or listened to this book, I would give this 4 stars. I was going through it before. I was like, but when the mess started, I was like, ooh, I can't wait to find out what's happening next. What's this craziness going on? Is she crazy? Who's she going to kill? Or somebody's going to die? Or what's going on? So I did enjoy this one. But let me know your thoughts if you've read or listened to this one. Until next time.